Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. We're in the Yukon again, and this is a shot of the dredge that we checked out last week. So there's actually about 5 dredges that we visited up in the Yukon. This is actually a really small dredge, so right after the intro here, we're going to get into a dredge you've seen on Gold Rush, Tony Beets Dredge. It's the only restored dredge that's still operating in the Yukon. Most of it's probably mental. You don't like dark places that are wet and you're claustrophobic. You have a bunch of phobias and stuff. It's not going to be the place for you. This is the dredge that you see on Gold Rush that was restored by Tony Beets. Like I say, it's a really small dredge, a little bit unique because it has steel pontoons. The other dredges, the big dredges, were actually built up in the Yukon and they had all wooden hulls, but this one's fairly small. So it makes it easy to move around. It just, I think there's about 8 pontoons that bolt together and it sits on there. So now, they talk a lot on TV and stuff about how good these dredges are, and the plan was he was going to build a fleet of these. So this one's actually been sitting for a couple of years. They're not very efficient at recovering gold, and we'll show you modern operations and actually how they recover gold today. If the dredges were efficient, they would still be operating in the Yukon, and the only reason this one's actually operating is Good Discovery paid a whole bunch of money and restored it. It's great TV. I love dredges. It's a historic thing that they used. The last one that was operating was back in the 50s. So today they don't do it this way at all. So as you can see, this side of the dredge is in pretty rough shape. The snow's collapsed that, and they never finished that. I don't think you'd ever see this side of the dredge on TV. So, like I say, it is a bit of, princess or something. It looks pretty cool from the other side. But that's entertainment. But I still love the dredge. You can kind of look in there. As you can see, the windows and stuff, they tried to keep a bunch of it as old as they could. They used the small panes and stuff, but it's all kind of for cosmetic purposes. As you can see, there's only a couple 2x4s that hold the shell of it together. Now, this dredge, you couldn't restore it back the way it was back in the old days because a lot of that stuff's just obsolete. So as you look on the other side, you can see they got like newer pumps and motors and generators and stuff in there. But the function and the character of the dredge are pretty accurate actually. Like I say, we've seen quite a few of the other ones. They're not made anymore. They haven't made one for I don't know. I think the last one was probably made back in the 30s, and they operated right up into the 1950s. The advantage of the dredge is when there was a lot of really rich gold, they can get in there and just scoop it up. Today, all that good gold is gone. So they have to really chase after a very fine gold that the dredges couldn't maybe pick up as well, and also little strips and stuff that they missed that weren't as rich. So they're chasing way smaller pieces of gold and smaller concentrations. So yeah, I can see. There's the pump and stuff, the modern pump. They use a lot of water to run through there, same as they do with the modern wash plants. And you can see the gen sets and everything. And there's the bucket line. This dredge, it's got a pretty small frame, so it would only be able to dig down about 25 feet. But in most places in the Yukon, that's enough to get, once you take the top off, that's enough. There's not that much pay to get down into bedrock anyhow, so that works fine in most places in the Yukon. The biggest dredge is actually went down about 50 feet. So, but it's a really neat dredge. We didn't actually get on it. You can't really drive to it, and it's private property or something, but there's no reason why we can't fly around it and show it to you. So it's pretty neat to see these machines. I'd love to actually see one working. That would be my be a pretty ultimate dream to see one of them working. You can see those rows of tailings, and those are from dredges back in the old days. So now we're going to show you how they actually mine today. Very efficient. This is a modern sluice plant. And so we fly over there, and we're going to show you how they do it compared to how it was done back in the old days. So we're at the bottom of a cut here, and this was a cut that's been mined out and they're filling it in. So what happens is they do their cuts and then they move the tailings from one to the other. And so you can see water running down. There's the modern sluice plant or wash plant, whatever you want to call it. And the water is running down and all the silt is coming down and is filling up the old, the last cut that they'd already mined out. So they're going from the old cuts to the new cuts. So this wash plant runs about 200 yards an hour. And it's got a fairly small crew that runs it, and we're going to go through the whole thing and show you how the whole operation works. It's actually quite fascinating to see this modern wash plant operating. Modern plants require a lot of water, so this is where the water comes from, and it's a closed circuit, so there's no creeks or anything like that, and it goes out from where the tailings are and it recirculates back. So got a very large pump, and they try to locate that as close as they can to the sluice because it's more efficient to do that. And like I say, it comes around. And the secret to washing efficiently a lot of gold out of all our rocks, you have to use a lot of water and a shaker. So we'll get to all that and we'll show you how that works. This plant runs 24 hours a day, and it was only shut down when they do cleanups. So we'll start at the head end. This is where the cut is. So on TV you see them doing a lot of the stripping in the summertime. They don't actually do that. All where the trees are and the muck and that soft stuff, they do it all in the wintertime. They rip it and do it in the winter. You know, it's just too tough to do it in the summer. So here they are. They're just removing the pay. That's what they do in the summertime. You can see where the hoe's sitting, and they're just working that up. So they don't got that much left to do in that cut. The rock trucks just haul it very short distance to the plant, and the stockpile there to run through there. As you can see, you know that all that black kind of ground and those trees, it's very soft in there, and you don't want to be fooling around there in the summertime. You just get stuck, and it's but you know, it's good entertainment. So there's kind of a big difference between things that are done on TV and the way they are in the real world here. So we're going to show you actually what it looks like on the bottom of this cut. We're at the bottom of the pit here, and so this is actually bedrock. So I always thought, you know, you think bedrock is rock, but it's not. And so this is all cleaned up, so there's no gold below this. And see, the difference is, this is the pay here, but it's got all this rock in here, the quartz and the gravel and stuff. So basically the hoe just digs down until there's no more rock left, which there isn't here. So this is all cleaned up. But it isn't actually solid, but it is kind of a layer that's impermeable, and the gold can't get through it. The gold sits on top of that. Probably maybe in a pretty shallow layer, eh? Yeah. The gold, most of the gold might be right against, you know, just right in here. You know, right where the transitions between the rock and the clay. So when you hear a bedrock, you always think rock, but that's not necessarily the case. It's just a layer. And you can see up there, that's where they pushed all the muck off. The top part is like the muskeg and the trees they pushed off. And then below that, there's a mineral soil. And then all of a sudden you see that gravel. And that's where the pay would be. So it would go from there all the way down to where we're standing on this clay layer here. So theoretically, really, if you look at this, there shouldn't be anything left here when they're done. It should be completely cleaned up. So we'll head from the pit and back up to the plant. You can see, you know, all this is very organized. There's no big mad rush to haul, pay a whole big distance. It's only a very short ways. If it's well organized, it's only a little ways from where your cut is to where your plant's set up. So that makes sense. You know, and it doesn't. They can keep ahead of that plant pretty easy with just a couple trucks. So, and then. So you see, they just, you know, on TV you see with the hoe there, they're feeding the plant and stuff. They don't do it that way. They just have a big stockpile right by the plant, and a dozer just kind of slowly pushes it in. It's very organized, and it's not, you know, not really exciting, but also very efficient. So as you see this operation, you think, man, these guys really know how to handle material, and everything's very methodical, and the plant just runs consistently. The whole time we're up there, it looks exactly the same. You know, it's just a steady feed, and the water and everything is going through. Nobody's rushing around. And, you know, it's not dramatic, but it's that's the way it works. The nice thing about this hopper feeder here is it just gives you a real consistent flow of stuff, right? So if you're just loading with a hoe or something, you get, you know, gaps in it. But, you know, this works really good. It looks like it's pretty easy, too. Yeah, simple, it works good, hey? Yeah. The way this basically works is the material of the feed is runs up in through the plant, and then there's a deck that shakes, and then they have a bunch of water bars. We'll show you in a bit, and it sprays all the rocks. And then there's a screen, so anything less than, I think, about 3/4 or ½ inch, I'm not sure, just goes right off that conveyor to the end, but it's all washed, so any gold particles are on there, they're washed and sprayed off. And then the other material goes through those through the sluice runs. They see there's like 6 sluice runs. So the way gold works is quite heavy, so almost all the gold is in the very top part of the sluice runs. So when they're doing that cleanup, first of all, with the long tom there, that's where all that kind of coarser material. So as you get down towards the end, by the time it drops off the end, theoretically there'd be no gold left. But the stuff near the bottom is very hard to get out, because then you have very small and very small particles of gold, so they're considerably harder to remove, the fine gold. So, but we're going to show you that whole process. So they're right on site there. They're gonna look after the coarser kind of gold, the easy to get gold. They're separating there at the long tong, and then we're gonna go into the gold room and get the very fine stuff that's closer to the end of the runs there. So that's the way it kind of works. It's not like on TV where it's just magically they throw it all in some buckets and you have the gold away at the end of the day. It's actually a lot of work to do a really efficient job to clean all this stuff out. So, all right, so we're going to show you those guys cleaning up. So they just did a cleanup. They have a bunch of that gold from the top of the sluice bucket in those buckets there. They run it through the long tong, and we'll show you that gold. It's pretty cool actually to see it. See the coarser gold, and it's not very coarse. But this is what's left after the dredges, cleaned up all the good gold, and this is what they're mining today, which is actually not very much gold at all. A small amount of gold, but they're very efficient at catching the gold that's left. And we'll show you some cool pictures. Sharon took some really cool pictures of them doing the cleanup here on the long tong. Anything shiny in there?
A little bit.
We're hoping, eh? This is a long tong, so that's kind of this first step in getting the gold when it comes off of the sluice runs. It's the coarsest gold. It's fairly easy to get out. So it's just like a big sluice box with lots of water, and they just run that stuff from the top through there, and they can get it actually pretty clean. So it's a lot more complicated to get the more finer particles, which a lot of that gold is like that. So kind of neat to see all this gold rushing down there and them guys doing that kind of stuff. This sign here, that's an ominous warning there. There we go. So what do you do here mostly? Run equipment?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what do you run?
I'm mainly the rock truck operator.
Oh, okay. That's not the most exciting job, is it?
I like it.
Oh yeah.
And I'll run the plant sometimes over dinner, just to give the person a break kind of thing. But yeah, it's fun plant. Love it. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, how long you been doing this?
This is my 2nd year.
Oh yeah, yep.
Still new.
So this is what modern gold mining looks like in the Yukon. So there's quite a few operations. I don't know how many there is altogether doing this. And, Parker actually is the largest operator in the Yukon. So, they do things a little different for TV, but they are mining a lot of gold there. This is a wash plant that Rick Ness had. It was called Durt Reynolds, so you can kind of read the Reynolds on it. So all these remnants of these shows on Discovery, some of these gold shows and stuff. So it's a pretty nice looking plant. Well, I like these many plants in the Yukon, so they get moved around. Different people run them, but they're all kind of specific for a different purpose. Let's see, we get up on top of Durt Reynolds here. Man, that's pretty heavy, isn't it? He's a beast. Really thick steel. Very solid machine. Let's see. We'll get up on top of Durt Reynolds here. Try to do this without breaking it, without falling. Of TV's, Durt Reynolds of TV fame. Ha. There's a screen. I think there was a show about that. They were losing a bunch of their gold or something. They put this screen on here. They said this was a bush fix to the holes are too big or something. I can't remember. Or the punch plate was worn. I can't remember what it was. Yeah.
Look how short these sluice runs are. No wonder they couldn't catch any gold with this machine. On the way back to town, we could see a black dot on the hill, so we figured it was a bear, so we just flew the drone over there to show you. There's lots of bears up in the Yukon. And moose and quite a bit of other wildlife up there too. So he didn't seem to be too annoyed by us being there, but he looked kind of grumpy. He was sticking his tongue out at me.
And it's like flotation. You think, well, gold can't float. Wow, that is amazing how well that works. You wouldn't think how it didn't work. You'd think the gold would go to the bottom, and the lighter stuff would go to the top.
That's why it's magic.
That is magic. So this is the coolest part of this table here. This is where all the gold is going out through the bottom of the wheel, right? Yeah, so we're in the gold room. They got quite a few processes here. The gold is a lot more complicated than you would think to separate it. And we'll show you this machine here in a minute. But there's a lot of meticulous work to actually screen it through a whole bunch of different levels to get the different sizes of gold, get the magnetic particles out of it. And it's all got to be done before it gets too oxidized, right? Yeah, so there's all these different screens and processes. And it takes a long time. So in this creek here, this is actually the largest gold there is in nuggets. And it's about 82% gold. So you see the gold isn't pure gold color because it's got silver in this case mixed in it. So you have different impurities. So normally when you get gold out of a creek and you get it all clean like this, it's never going to be 100% gold. So for someone to do a gold weigh and get a certain amount and say how much it's worth is actually just maybe for entertainment purposes. This table here was actually invented and marketed by Freddie Dodge, a fine gold recovery expert, and his machine here. And what this does actually is the fine gold that's not captured by the wheel goes through here. So we're talking about really fine recovery. They never recovered back in the old days, I wouldn't think, no. Yeah, they go through every effort to get every little bit of gold that they can market. And you kind of see it on this table here. And look how fine that stuff is. And yeah, so the gold is going to precipitate on those long rungs. And the waste material is going to go back out. So you run that through a bunch of times, or are you just going to be happy with it one time?
Just the one time.
The one time, okay. It seems like you see some gold up here, eh? Just a little flakes there?
Yeah.
So the gold is going to come down through here.
It's gonna. What you're hoping is that all the gold will stay in this channel.
Oh, yeah.
That it'll feed into this cup here.
Yeah.
It's just a way of recovering. Otherwise, what will be lost.
Okay. You see the gold participating out through here. Very small little piece of gold. I mean, I don't know how many thousands of those pieces it would take to make it out. I don't know if you have the patience to count them.
No, not me.
Well, most anywhere around here you can grab a gold pan and find these little specks of gold, but don't get too excited. That is fine gold. Really small little stuff there. But they add up, I guess. See anything you like?
Like it all. Yeah. I might have to move up here.
So this is the free gold mining area, so they just dumped a little bit of kind of pay dirt in here. It's for tourists to come along and maybe try to pan a little gold. You know, Ben says there's some guys that got some pretty decent sized nuggets out of here this year, so kind of hit and miss. I don't know where the ore comes from or the stuff. So Sharon's really determined to get some gold. She says she's not leaving until she pans this whole pile. So we'll be here for another week. So we found ourselves a gold mine here. So Sharon's going to go down and fill a couple pans up for you guys, and we'll show you how to make easy money. I think that stuff alongside the road is just for tourists. This is where the real gold miners, you got to go underground to get gold, you know.
Right in my head.
Yeah, that's some nice looking stuff. I'll bet you there'll be some nuggets in there.
See it glittering?
Oh yeah. But it's not gold. All the glitter's not gold. You ever hear that?
How do you know it's not gold?
Because it's silver colored.
We are back in town there, just kind of kicking around Dawson City. It's a beautiful place to visit. There's all kinds of cool historic stuff. And you can buy some really neat stuff there, some gold jewelry. There's actually some of those big mammoth tusks and stuff like that for sale, all kinds of neat stuff. And we're just going down the Yukon River. So we're going to show you something else that's really cool that you have probably seen on TV if you watch Gold Rush. Some equipment there, and join us next week. We're going to be heading up another river and way back in the bush, and we found a really old steam shovel that was built back in the 1800s that nobody knows it's there. It's in pristine condition. So this is what we're going to show you now. This is some stuff that Tony Beets had. So there's the Kid Commando and the Jasmine Bee. The Jasmine Bee's in the front. There's that barge there. And the stern wheeler is something that they use for tourists. It was parked this year. The Kid Commando is that other small little tug that actually pulls that barge. So we couldn't see them that good from the air. We're as soon as we get done flying here, because we're out of range, we're going to get on the ground and we'll walk over there and we'll show you these this marine fleet that Tony had for moving dredges back in a couple years ago. So as you can see, it's pretty heavily constructed underneath there, and they had it so the Oshkosh could, it's on a bed that the Oshkosh could pull, I guess. So it doesn't seem like they're doing much of anything with it anymore. They had a bunch of stability problems with it. They had to weld this thing was unstable. It would flip over too easily. So what they had to do is they had to weld these two outriggers kind of on it. So they added that to it. That wasn't part of the ship originally, if I remember correctly. I think they moved the dredge from Thistle Creek in pieces on the Jasmine Bee. So I don't know what they're going to do with it now. No, maybe this is the one that they actually had to weld those extensions on. Look, it's pretty skinny. It's not very big. It looks like more of a tug. Looks a lot bigger in TV land than it does in real life. It's sitting on a low bed here. Have a look at the Kid Commando. Yeah. That's a sacrificial anoid. And it's, I don't know, for some reason it attracts dust. I don't know how that works, but yeah. Yeah, maybe this is the one that they had to make wider or something. I don't know. Can't remember what the deal was on it. Oh, it's basically just a tug. Yeah, she's pretty shiny. You spent lots of money on these things. Port of Registry, Prince Rupert, BC. Yeah, so that's what they did with this Kid Commando. Pulled this barge, I think, which is right beside us. And they used that for dredge parts. The Commando would have pulled this barge here, which would seem to work pretty good. You'd think you'd be able to haul a lot of weight on that. I'm not sure why they felt they had to build this one.
this is Parker's stuff here, so this is a cool shot of his conveyor we got here. Seen this on Gold Rush. It's the 700 Volvo, and they mounted a big conveyor on it. So maybe there's someone here to give a shit. I don't know. We'll see. So I don't know if you'll see this on Gold Rush next year, but this dozer's stuck. Here's one of Parker's dozers stuck in the muck. There we go, we're on the set of Gold Rush here with a stuck dozer. See if we can pull them out.